welcome to Digital Learning. I'm Connie Colosi, Director of Media Text and Digital Learning, and for our show today, I have brought really all my team, and I'm really excited for you to have an opportunity to meet them and hear about the work that they do. And so I'm going to start and then let each one introduce themselves and give us an idea of their background and the schools that they serve. We'll start with Laura.
Hi, Connie. I'm Laura Clark. I came from a third grade classroom. I've been with the district since 1996 in multiple capacities. Started teaching in Madrid, so I speak Spanish, do some tech, do some teaching. I'm just here to help teachers do what they do, but do a little bit better.
James?
Hi, I'm James Wilson. Most recently, I was an instructional staff developer for middle school math. Before that, I was a high school math teacher. Now that I am with digital learning, I support mostly middle and high schools throughout the county, and is similar to Laura, helping teachers use technology to improve their instruction.
Okay. Stacy.
Hi, I'm Stacy Pellerin Vanderloop, and I recently joined the digital learning team in December of last year. I've been in the county for 21 years, mostly elementary level teaching, various grade levels, and now I'm just happy to be helping teachers integrate technology into their classroom.
And my name's Alex Heron. I taught at Middle School. I taught middle school math and business ed there. Always been a big nerd, so getting to go to all this secondary schools, middle school, high schools, and help them with all the technology is just a really exciting opportunity for me.
All right. Well, this is a powerful team. We're here with our digital learning shirts on, so we're easy to identify. And also with me is the project coordinator for digital learning, Sarah Trolson.
Hi, Connie.
Hey.
Well, and I'll give you a little of my background.
Yes.
Same thing. I'm in my 10th year with the Office of Digital Learning, so I'm so excited to have such a fabulous team, and I'm excited to continue to work with our specialists and our teachers and students to increase their use of technology.
All right.
I know you guys mentioned doing a lot of training and working with the teachers. What's a topic that you train a lot on? Laura, we'll start with you.
We all train on everything, but one of my favorites to train on is Nearpod. It's just a very interactive, very easy to learn. Lots of lessons are pre-made. It's a K-12 application. It's free. Those teachers can have a free account. We're using it with our media specialists for the digital learning, digital citizenship lessons in each school. They've been provided with those lessons, so they didn't have to create them. And it's engaging for the students. It gets them to draw, it gets them to submit information, there's reports they can find, and it's not device-based. It can be a mix of devices, so it's something that if you have a few iPads or you have a few computers, it's kind of applicable to any particular classroom.
That's awesome. And I know lots of teachers want Nearpod accounts every day.
Every day.
I get
Every
those
day.
emails.
Yeah.
How about you, James?
Most recently, a lot of my trainings have focused on Safari Montage, and I choose that because, one, our personalized learning pathway links back to Safari Montage. It is a repository where teachers can build lessons. A lot of teachers use it or think of it as a way, if they know they're going to be absent, they can pre-build a lesson for that day. All of our students have access to Safari Montage, and so it would be simply the students having the hardware to access the digital learning.
Can I ask you really quick, does it have stuff in it already, or can teachers put things in Safari Montage?
Great question, and it's both. The Safari Montage already has a wealth of pre-screened educationally appropriate videos and documents, but if a teacher searches and doesn't find something that suits their students or their own teaching style, then they can import, again, videos, documents, PowerPoints, whatever it is that they use in their everyday classroom, they can bring into Safari Montage as a resource.
I want to jump in there too and talk a little bit about how YouTube, on all the stuff that we can find on YouTube, fits into Safari Montage.
Okay, so one of the big problems with teachers sending kids to YouTube is you get the ads and you get all the peripherals, and then you're not quite certain if that kid is where they're supposed to be on YouTube. Well, with Safari Montage, we can go and take that YouTube video and copy the URL, bring it into Safari Montage. It gets rid of the ads and the peripherals, and when it plays, it will play right inside of Safari Montage. So they don't have to worry about that student linking out and having a bunch of different browser windows open on the kid's desktop.
You know, I'll just say another thing I love about it is maybe you don't want the entire clip that's available, and maybe you just need a section of it, and it's real easy to snip it down and get that piece that you want. So,
Yes, it is.
all right, thanks.
Right, Stacy, how about you?
So I'm enjoying smart notebook software. I really like helping the teachers using their smart notebook software the way it was intended and really getting it interactive for kids. So recently with the Smart Notebook 17 update, we got Smart Lab games, and they are phenomenal. You have 5 minutes, you can pull your content in, set it up right there on the spot, and you have an interactive game for the kids to play.
So can I ask you, on this one, how are kids playing those interactive games? What do they do?
So they can connect to it by using any device. Some games you can go to the board and play them, or they can use iPads, anything that has a browser. They can access these Smart Lab games.
That's awesome. And can every teacher use Smart Notebook, or just a select few teachers?
Everyone.
That's really cool. All right, last but not least, Alex, what's your favorite tool?
Well, like you said, we all train on everything, so we end up doing a lot of all the different things, but I've just been spending a lot of time recently working on the Epson BrightLink projectors. We're putting these things into schools all over the place, and they're so powerful, they're so cool, there's a lot of cool things in them. What's great about doing trainings on the BrightLinks is in 10 minutes, a teacher with very little training can use some of these powerful tools. I mean, it's got like a built-in timer, for example. It's got a built-in whiteboard that you can put up as a math teacher. I wish I'd had one because it's got built-in graph paper. I can just put that up without even having my computer connected to it. So going in and spending just a short amount of time, just a quick chunk on a teacher's planning period before or after school, and just seeing, oh my gosh, I can do that. I can do these things. It's pretty exciting. It's a lot of fun.
I've heard you're doing some other things to promote these Epsons and a really awesome feature that they have. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, with a question like that, the problem is there's so many awesome features. I don't know which. Are you talking about hooking it up to the network?
Yeah.
So one of the really cool things about these Epson projectors that we've been purchasing, the reason we went with them, is that if you connect them to our network, any teacher can actually hook up their computer, whether you're on a Mac, a PC, even on an iPad. You can actually connect your computer wirelessly to them. You just have to make sure that your projector has been set up on the network correctly. But over the summer, we've been spending a lot of time putting a process together for that, doing training for the techs to make sure they know what needs to happen to get that done. But it really gives teachers the opportunity to get out of the front of the classroom, which, as we all know, as instructional staff, makes a huge difference for class management.
I love it. So you're not tethered to the front with that cord anymore. You can move around with your students.
Right.
Very neat.
So Sarah, I have a question for you.
Ask away.
They've talked about some great programs and applications that we have available, but no one talked about a really big one.
No, our
so tell us a
Office
little bit.
365. I had a feeling that's what you were going to ask. Yeah, one thing that we have that all of our students, all of our teachers, every staff member is our Office 365. And so many folks are starting to move to using the tools in there, like Class Notebook, for organizing your class. If you want to have kind of a digital classroom, which I started in the district as the distance learning coordinator, so that's a big passion of mine. Teachers can do that. They can post documents, they can post links and information for their students so they can get to it anywhere, at home, at school, in a lab. We also have a lot of staff notebooks going on. So principals and school administration's finding that organizing things online rather than sending 100 emails with attachments is a much more productive and kind of uniform way of doing things. So we're taking advantage of that platform in so many ways, and we don't have a lot of time to talk about it, but we even have our new gateway that's in there. So teachers and any of our instructional staff can go in and see ideas on how to teach lessons. They can see the pacing guides. They can get to the materials in one spot instead of having to go to all the various places that one person in one department might like it here and another department likes it over there. it's on one uniform location. So kind of streamlining what we do and making that in the background a little bit more. So.
Office 365 is one of those things that the deeper we dive, the bigger it gets.
That's true. Kind of like the projectors.
Yes, true. So, you know, we all enjoy our work and we want to feel successful at our work. And so let's just talk for just a second about some wins that you've had recently, something that's really gone well and that you felt was effective. We'll start with Laura.
Oh, this summer I collaborated with both elementary language arts and elementary math departments and sat with them through some trainings and kind of piggybacked on what they were training on. Elementary was doing vocabulary, math was doing just the elementary math, DNA math with Julie Dixon, the publisher, the author of the books. So I sat with them in their trainings and created things for the teachers to use based on what they were training. So supportive things, some teachers can turn around and just use immediately, some things for the students to use for creation. That was the big fun part. They said, hey, can you make this? And I can make this and send it out. And it's some of the places they're storing some of the stuff on the gateway so teachers have access to it whenever they need it.
So sometimes with technology, we come in and it's like we're doing technology for the sake of technology. Hey, what could we do about technology? But I love what you just said, because that is really using the technology to support the teaching, which is really what it's about. So
and the staff developers were there giving input, so it's something that they wanted the teachers to be using as well, not just a fun kind of, something for the kids to do.
Yeah. James.
Okay, a success. So sometimes students misbehave and have to be relocated to either intervention center or they have to serve in-school suspension. Well, a middle school reached out and said, even though we have these kids here, we want to make sure that we keep them learning and keep the focus on instruction versus behavior. And so we worked together to come up with a plan on how we could take technology and put technology inside of the intervention center so that when the kids are there, they don't lose any instructional time, even though they're not in their quote-unquote normal classroom.
Well, that's a really practical application for technology. And coming from school-based, I think we've all seen, that you have kids that for whatever reason end up not a part of instruction, but this is a way to reroute them and keep them engaged in the learning. So that's great work. Thanks. Stacy.
So I think my biggest success most recently is I'm working with a few elementary schools to help them build a digital staff OneNote notebook where teachers can upload their lesson plans and have it all organized and archived, and also their PLC notes are there and accessible for administration to look at and the teachers. They can look at each other's PLC notes to see what the other grade levels are doing, and it's been a time saver for teachers and more convenient for everyone to access this information.
When I was school-based and you'd send out important information via email, and then you say, oh shoot, I need to revise that, and then you send a new email, and then the poor teacher is sitting there and they're trying to figure out which of the 5 emails I've sent is what they need, and this way it's all in one place. I can revise it. You always know it's the most recent edition of whatever it is that you're doing. So that's a great use of our Office 365.
Microsoft Teams is the technology solution for that.
All right. We'll hear a lot more about that on digital learning through the course of the year. Probably get a whole show of its own.
Well, so piggybacking off of that, a lot of schools have been setting up staff notebooks for the kind of communication piece, and one of the things we want to make sure we're doing is making teachers' lives easier. So what I've been working with a lot of administrators on is setting up a Clever page for their school, for their staff, to have a direct link. First thing you do is you click on Clever, and then your staff notebook's right there. So a lot of administrators and staff don't know they can customize those Clever pages. It's a really powerful tool. When I had a class full of kids and on computers, getting them to the resources we want them to use can be time consuming, and it takes away from instructional time. So Clever really resolves a lot of those issues. And so working with teachers and administrators on using Clever and maximizing this tool as we start to populate it with more stuff has been something that's really been received well as I go out to schools.
I know, again, you sit down at the computer and you want to access some particular website and you think, well, what's the website address? Oh, what? password did I put in there? And Clever really helps us work past that, because once you get there, all your stuff is there. And we've really worked to build that out. Our TIS department here has been amazing in helping with that. So, and then taking it the one step further, that now schools can begin to customize. And one of the great things about Clever is that the resources are specified by level and by school. So if a school purchases a special application, they can be rostered in Clever and nobody else will see that. And if there's something that elementary school uses, high school's not going to see it. So you're not going to have people clicking around and saying, gee, I can't get to that. Why can't I get to that? Well, they don't even see it. They see the stuff they're supposed to have. So
Yeah.
it's a great tool.
Well, and that's the administrator can customize their links for their school too. So that's where the staff notebook will come in. Teachers can do it with their students based off of how they're rostered. So there's just a lot of potential there.
We talked about something that went really, really well, but things don't always go perfectly. So what's a kind of a common challenge that you've run across, and can you give us a tip on how you can overcome that? Laura?
I think now that especially we're going to Windows 10 and the county has gone to Chrome as the default browser, I'm finding many times students and teachers are trying to access something and it's just not working the way they used to or the way they expected it, and it's simply because they're either on the wrong browser or they're just not on Chrome. So I would say if you're trying to access something, whatever that application happens to be, and it's not functioning like you expect, put it on Chrome and try again.
And we also have a blog post on our
Oh,
blog
yes,
about
we
how
do.
to set that as the default. techtoolbox.pcsb.org. Quick plug.
Go
We're
for
going
it.
to come back to that.
Go
plug.
for it.
Hold
Yeah.
on, keep that.
Sorry.
Keep that. We're gonna, no, not sorry. We're going to come back to it. James.
So similar to what Laura said, with the Windows 10, the new image that we've put out, teachers may notice now that when they project onto the board, that the display no longer fills the entire screen as it once did before they had the computer re-image. And so it shrinks what they see. A quick fix is for the teacher to right-click on the desktop, and then when the options come up, they want to select the graphic property link, and from there, what they need to do is now select scale their screen for full screen, because it's maintaining the aspect ratio. And so when they make that simple change, they should see they now will fill the screen, and they just have to save those changes or it will revert back.
That's amazing. It's little things like that when you come in and it's just not happening, and it's just like, never mind, I'm not going to. So thanks for sharing that tip.
Stacy?
So just a couple things. The new 2-in-1 teacher station laptops that are coming out no longer have a VGA connection. So a simple tip is try connecting through HDMI. Get an HDMI cord. You can actually get 3 HDMI cords on Amazon for $8.99. So it's an inexpensive solution.
Save your receipt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But connecting your computer through the HDMI connection and leaving your document camera on VGA. And then just remembering now, instead of toggling on that document camera, you're going to pick up the remote or touch the projector where it says source search, and you're going to switch between computer 1, which is the VGA connection, or HDMI, which will be your laptop now.
Pretty easy to do.
And that actually dovetails into what I was going to say as well, because sometimes I want to talk about interactive projectors that sometimes aren't so interactive and people get frustrated. Sometimes if you click on it, it's off by a little bit. It's oftentimes because it's going through that document camera. So hooking up with HDMI will fix that issue too. But if it just seems like you're touching a screen and nothing's working, it's not clicking on your computer, there's a couple things that are really easy to check. First of all, make sure the USB cord coming out of your board's plugged in. Seems like a simple thing, but that's got to be plugged in, otherwise it won't work. And then the second thing is these Epsons have 2 modes. They have a PC free mode where you can draw on the screen and you can highlight over anything, and they've got PC interactive mode where you actually click when you touch. And the problem is it defaults to PC free mode and your touch acts like an eraser. So people are clicking on the screen trying to click on something and nothing's happening because it's trying to erase what's on the screen. So just making sure you're in the right mode on those projectors will often fix that interactivity.
Really good tips.
So, but there's a lot, Sarah, and there's a lot.
So where do we post these? Because
Yes.
if you're watching this and not taking really good notes, you might be thinking, I wish I remember what he said. I have that problem. So we have a special place that you can go. And since you kind of already brought that up a little, can you tell us a little more about our digital learning blog?
Yeah, so we're trying to find a place to, we were trying to find a place to, as a repository for all the information that we discover, because technology is constantly changing. And so we decided to put together a SharePoint site. It's linked to at techtoolbox.pcsb.org. And it's just, we're all constantly putting great content on there, videos, documents, things that we get as we're learning more to help make sure, if you have to wait for us to come out to your school, well, you can always go check there and see if the information that you need is there. So it's techtoolbox.pcsb.org, bookmark it.
Yes.
Check, keep track as we're coming out with new stuff. It's really good.
And it's also on our digital learning website. We've got a link right there. It looks like a little red toolbox. If you click on it, then you can follow our site. And we post other things, not just our blog as well, so that you can kind of always be in the know about tips and tricks and what we're doing.
So for that, you go to our main website, the main district website, and under departments and offices, you scroll down alphabetical order to digital learning, and there's lots of things there. There's, for instance, there's a BYOD, bring your own device agreement. So some schools who don't have all the devices that they want to use are allowing students to use their own devices. And this is a school-wide decision, and I'll say that. So this is not a decision that can be made in a vacuum, because it does impact a lot of people. And James and I had a situation last year where we have one teacher who is wanting the kids to use their phones for academic purposes with a great application called Quizzes. And then we had at the very same time another teacher saying, these kids have the password, we've got to change it and get them off. And so the lockdown, the technology really has we've moved past that, because the kids have powerful technology. So, but we need guidelines, and so we do have an agreement for kids to sign and for schools to use, and that is there. Another document that we posted there is our tips for student passwords.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about student passwords, Sarah.
Yeah. Well, one of the big security measures that TIS instituted last year after a big audit, so it's not just something TIS decided to do. We have to be more secure with our physical locations, but also with our cyber presence as well. And so each student, instead of having the same kind of easy to figure out password that we used to use, they all have to set their own unique password. So we actually have on our site some guidelines for how students can do that. And we've even recently had a change on our own Office 365 site where students can reset their passwords from home or from school. So it's not something that the teacher has to do, especially with our older students, our high school students, even middle school. They can go in and reset their password if they forget it. I have to reset mine on a few sites multiple times. So students can do that, and it's going to make things a little safer. As far as our little kids, we do have some other guidelines on there as well, because we know that a first grader or a kindergartner is probably not going to know how to reset their own password, and sometimes might not remember it as easily. So the teachers can also change the passwords for the students. And we have directions that have gone out from TIS, so check your email, teachers, because that's in there as well, so they can reset them if they have a new group of kiddos from kindergarten or first grade that don't remember their password. We would just say it's going to be really, really important that students remember those passwords if they change them at home, so that they can use things at school as well. And parents, if they change their little ones' passwords, they need to make sure to communicate that with the teacher and make sure their student knows that password. So practice, so when they get back to school, they can still use the programs that they need to.
So I'm going to throw this one to James. James, you have children in the Pinellas County school system. And has it ever happened to you that you ask your child if they have any homework and they say, no, I don't have any homework?
All the time.
So we kind of have a tricky plan for that through Clever, and so we talked just a bit about that and PLP.
Okay, so with PLP, depends on whether your student is elementary or secondary, which is 6 through 12. For the elementary students, when they log into Clever and there's an icon that says PLP, they're going to click on that and it's going to pull up their map growth data. And so in each of the columns, well, it's just ELA and math for right now, but they would see the different categories or reporting categories that the student tested in, and it'll be red, yellow, or green. Red meaning poor performance, yellow is your midway, and then green meaning they did pretty good in that category. Well, ideally you click on that red or yellow category, and what you will get is standards that was assessed under that category, and then the student can actually click on the standard and it will link them to a lesson that was put together by a content specialist or their team of staff developers related directly to that benchmark. And so as a parent, I can always have my student go on and go to PLP and work on those lessons to improve what they were working on, whether they have homework assigned or not.
And so you're a math teacher, so you're in pretty good shape to help your kid with math. I, on the other hand, would have a problem. We don't have to get too far into math before I'm at a standstill, and probably a lot of people feel that way. I have a math phobic support group on the side, but they don't have to know how to teach math because those lessons are there and they're built, and they can actually work with their child and learn some math. So we've talked about a lot of resources here today between the Epson projectors, between Nearpod, between Smart, between PLP, between Safari Montage, Office 365. It's a very long list. And these 4 amazing technology integration coordinators. So much of this is funded through the referendum from Pinellas County taxpayers and their confidence in supporting schools. And of course, 80% of that referendum goes to teacher salaries, and 20% is split between elementary reading, secondary reading, visual arts, performing arts, and of course, technology. So we want to thank the Pinellas County taxpayers for supporting all these great programs in Pinellas County schools. And if you're sitting there wondering, how do I get these fine people to come out and see me? Sarah, how do we do that?
Well, one of the easiest ways is you can always email me at trulsons@pcsb.org, TRUELSONS@pcsb.org, or that same website that you were mentioning, we actually have a contact us spot, and you can see all of the technology coordinators' emails. So some of them support North County schools, some South County schools. We've got a nice split, and or you can even ask your media specialist at school. The LMTs all know which person is there to support them and can reach out to us at any time.
Yes, and we will give a shout out to our LMTs, our library media technology specialists, because there are boots on the ground in the school. So
absolutely.
Thank you all very much, and thank you for the work you do. And come back and see us on Digital Learning. We're going to go into a lot deeper information on all these topics. Thank you for joining us.